What up, guys? It's fucking Wire Guitars recording this shit at 2 a.m. My parents are upstairs sleeping. I'm 26, still living in my mom's goddamn basement, and I'm coming at you guys with a replay analysis. It's been a while from the YouTube scene, you know, been about a week and a half at this point, maybe 2 weeks. But you know what it is, man. We're back in this bitch. I'm 5.6k MMR. I literally just played this game like 3 minutes ago. I had to wait for the replay to analyze itself. All right, 5.5 MMR, 55, 60, you know, basically any MMR below 5.6 is not 5.6, right? The classic, you're 4,999 MMR, you're basically 4K, dude. Like, you can't even say that you're 5K because you're still not 5K, you know, you're 4,999, well, technically. So yeah, I'm 5.5K MMR. This replay was literally just played, so it's at that bracket. Promise you guys I'm not showing you some game from 5 months ago or some crazy outdated shit. And I want to teach you guys how to play support, because I don't think any of you guys know this, but I actually own on support. Okay, I'm the god support. My preferred roles go 3, 5, 4, 2, and then 1 in that order, right? I guess you could say, if you want to play like fighting games, I'm secondary, like primary role 3, secondary role support, you know what I mean? Like in fighting games where they have like your main and then your secondaries, you know, like you have your main in Smash Brothers is like Bayonetta, and then your secondaries are like Cloud or some shit. Like my main is 3, but don't sleep on my 5, because my 5 is I'm using the roles of Dota, like the numbers of Dota, and then using words like primary and secondary, so it gets confusing. But my primary role is of course offlane, or the 3 position role, where you go into the offlane and you fuck up the enemy core, you know what I mean? Like the basically my primary role is what this axe was on, but I had to get some role queue tokens, so this game we're playing 5, and that's totally fine by me. So what do? Let's start the game, right? I say every game of Dota begins in the picking stage, but fuck that nonsense, okay? Your support, you queue, you get your role queue tokens, you queue and you queue support. You have to pick first phase. Doesn't really matter. The picking stage doesn't matter too much, especially if your team isn't hovering over their picks, because then you can't even synergize. And of course, you can't counter pick because you don't see the enemy's picks. So I just made a comfort pick decision this game because I didn't know what my team was picking. I'm not sitting here going to synergize with my draft or any bullshit like that. I'm just like, you know what? I play a god tier Oracle, my best support by far, so I'm picking Oracle. First pick that shit and get into the game. First decision that I make is, of course, my item decisions, and let me just briefly explain them. 2 tangos, or 2 sets of tangos, because of course 1 set of tangos isn't enough, because you have to pull 2 tangos to your mid lane. That's standard. You're going to do that every game. I think most people know that. Then all I want is a lot of regen in terms of mana, because Oracle is very mana hungry, and if you have enough mana for spamming your Q, you can really put a lot of pressure on the enemy in the early game. Especially once you hit level 2 and level 3, you're very powerful with burst damage. You just need mana to support that. And then a sentry. And why did I buy a sentry at the start of the game? Because I have a Terrorblade in lane. Terrorblade is not the kind of hero that I can play super aggressively with all the time. So there's going to be a lot of downtime in the lane where we're not that useful. Well, rather, there's going to be a lot of downtime in the lane where he's not that useful. And so our lane combo is essentially just, you know, Oracle plus a melee creep. And so, you know, during that downtime, I want to be looking to disrupt the lane equilibrium, make sure that Centaur can't just keep it near his tower and zone out the Terrorblade. So that's why I started Sentry. Sentry is just a good generic item to start, by the way, if you're ever curious, like, you know, should I, like, when I start spamming support or whatever, like, you know, what are some good item decisions to make? Well, in the early game, I promise you that if you start 1 Sentry, it can be a bit of a waste of the gold if you're if you're not getting people that are like blocking your camps or warding behind your tower and shit like that. But usually speaking, the offlane is going to get a ward, and so it's nice to start a sentry to be able to at least have the option to counterplay that. But as we're going to see this game, it doesn't work out so much in my favor. So anyways, besides all that nonsense, okay, there's my starting items. I explained them. What is my decision making? At the start of the game, Oracle, you do have a form of crowd control. It's not the greatest. It's not a stun, but it is a high damage and can be a high duration route, which is powerful enough to get first blood. So instead of going bottom, there's no sense in going bottom. We're going to lose those 2 runes every single time to Centaur plus 1 other hero. Both these heroes have a stun, so rather than try to play like 2 for 2 and basically get no runes or only get 1 rune, I'd rather come top with my root and supply my Pudge and my axe with some setup and vision. So that's what I do. We're just going to see how I play this. I don't want to show basically until the runes are spawning, because I don't want to give the enemy the information that I am here. So I play behind the trees, and then the horns calling, and axe isn't really in a good position right now. So I'm just like, well, we need vision somehow. So I'm just going to show. So I come up here, I start channeling my Q on the Sven, stop it right before he approaches the bounty rune, right? This is important because, say for instance, I got stunned by Lion or I got stunned by Sven, right? If that happens, my projectile still goes out and it roots the Sven before he's on the rune. And my Q is very important for setting up the Pudge hook here. So we get the Pudge hook. It's pretty easy because it's my root, right? Like, it's pretty easy to hit a target that's not moving. And we just barely get this kill on this Sven. I want to show you guys this. It's just auto attack moving and shit like that. Right, root him again. It's off cooldown, and he stuns, we battle hunker, and we just barely, like if that hook didn't connect, if the Sven was predicting it, it's kind of hard for him to predict it because of course he was moving at reduced movement speed with battle hunker, so if he moves too slow, Axler's going to come up and right click him, but either way, we just barely get that kill. So totally worth it, right? We got 2 runes. I think, yeah, TB didn't get the rune. Understandable that the TB didn't get the rune because again, I pretty much left him down there to not get it. Like I knew that he was going to have a hard time getting the rune, but either way, it set us up for a position where we can still get 2 runes on our side of the map, and we even got first blood. So totally fine with that. And then I TP bottom. It's usually good to TP bottom in those situations because if you don't TP bottom, then you're going to be walking all the way there and your TB is going to be getting solo zoned by a centaur for 2 waves, for the first like 2 creep waves, and that's really bad. So it is correct in most situations, even if you're kind of low on mana, to TP bottom. And this is where, again, like my starting item decisions can complement my playstyle here. If I know I'm going to go to the top rune, there's going to be that period of time where like I'm going to be low on mana because I had to TP bottom because TPs cost 75 mana to cast. So you can start a little bit of extra mana regen to sort of supplement that. Because I'm pretty useless in this lane without mana. And the first thing I do, Centaur is not exactly the ideal hero to just sit here and cast my Q on him. But I do want to start trading and trying to upset this lane equilibrium. So I'm going to cast my Q here. Get some right clicks. The Terrorblade goes into melee range, so it gets stomped there. I think that was kind of a mistake by him, but either way. We played a Terrorblade's strength right here because, you know, he has meta, so we want to sit here and play to his strength. And now I'm kind of making a mistake. I'll fully acknowledge this. And Terrorblade actually even points this out, is he wants to play aggressive. He has meta up. He wants me to play aggressive. He doesn't want me to come over here and be checking this pole camp and shit that Shadow Shaman block. Like, this is all poor play by my part, right? He has meta up. He wants to be right clicking. He doesn't want to be getting zoned out while he has meta. So I'm admittedly making a very big mistake here. I shouldn't even be fucking around with the pole camp. I should just be playing while Terrorblade is strong in the lane. And then when he doesn't have, I mean, I even just explained it to you guys, 2 minutes ago or 3 minutes ago, like I should be playing to his strengths. And then here, I'm like, there's no way they have this warded. So, but Shadow Shaman did walk over. I should have just known that they had this area warded. As it turns out, and I checked this out after the game. Actually, I saw this in the game when this ward expired. This Shadow Shaman placed a god tier ward. I don't know when he placed this. It was probably when I was top. But he placed this ward right here, which does block the camp. You can't see it, but it does barely block the camp, and it's out of range of my sentry. And you'll see that, like, you're thinking, like, oh my god, like, cool, but, he blocked the camp with a ward wired, so you should be able to get an easy D ward. Well, I can't get an easy D ward if this guy just sits here and camps my fucking courier every single time. And you'll see this game, this shaman, like, shuts my ass down. He gets, like, 3 courier snipes on me. It's so fucking annoying. And it's some game-losing shit, honestly. And I should have, if they played perfectly, they could have won the game probably off this play alone. Because, like, look at this. Like, TB is in lane against a Centaur with no meta. This guy is probably getting denied a lot of creeps, or he should be getting denied a lot of creeps, right? My hero's having no impact, and Terrorblade should be effectively getting shut down. Like, this lane is in a losing situation, and it's all because of a few misplays that I made, and really good like game knowledge plays made by the shaman. But anyways, I digress. So like enough dick sucking on the enemy team's part. I'll explain this lane a little bit more. TB's, he's doing the best he can to get CS. Of course, he's going to naturally get harassed because like the lane's not in a good spot for TB. TB wants the lane basically under his tower anytime he doesn't have meta. But he can't have that because I can't pull the lane. So every time he gets harassed, it's like just chip damage that the enemy gets to condition a kill with. So I salve him up. It's one of the advantages of starting or getting regen immediately when you only start with 4 tangos as a support is you can leverage your regen and give it to your ally. And now I'm coming over and I'm checking, like, dude, they have to have blocked this camp. This is crazy. Because Shaman didn't even use his body that time because like the 3-minute mark rolled around and the Shaman was in lane. So I know that they blocked this camp with a ward, but I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, where is it? Lo and behold, it's right fucking here. Look at that cheeky ass ward spot, dude. That is so frustrating. But either way, I should explain this real quick, sorry. So here, The Shaman's going over here. I don't know what he's doing exactly, but he doesn't, I guess, realize that like TB has meta, so Centaur's in a scary situation here. So as the Centaur runs into the tree line as Oracle, you have to recognize that your Q does give vision, as well as, of course, it gives vision over the entire duration of the ability, and the longer that you channel it, the longer that it roots for. So I channel my Q for as long as possible so that I get maximum vision. What the Centaur is going for here, the play he's going for, is a tree juke into a TP. So the more vision you can grant, the better. And also the more I can hold him in place, the better. And we just get this kill just barely. Level 1 E doesn't do all that much damage, but it's just enough to kill this guy right here. So sit here, we try to get as much vision as possible. He hits a god Q, and that's unfortunate, but we still pick up the kill, which is good. It's a good kill to pick up, but it's not like it's not great, you know. It's like I got the kill firstly and foremostly, and secondly, and even more so to the point is like now I have no mana. TB doesn't have meta, and I still can't do anything about the equilibrium of the creeps, right? Like I can't do anything to sort of salvage this TB's lane. Can't pull or can't do anything really. So very unfortunate. I was kind of running at the Shadow Shaman, popped a Mango even, but I don't even know why I did that. Honestly, I don't even know why what I'm doing right here. I should be running to my well, I don't know. There's really nothing for me to do here because my courier died, and again, my courier had my shit on it. I can't remember if it died again. Did it respawn? I think it died again. Yeah, it dies right here because the Shaman's over there sniping it. This is so frustrating. Yeah, okay. So this is what I wanted to highlight was we get this kill and that's cool, but it's almost like a Pyrrhic victory. Pyrrhic victory is a victory that's not even like where the costs outweigh the costs of the victory outweigh the benefits of the victory. It's almost like a Pyrrhic victory because my courier gets sniped again. Something I could have done obviously to counterplay this is just setting my courier up on like a shift Q command. The problem was I didn't know where the ward was. I didn't know where the vision was. I don't know if the easiest play, the easiest way to make this not happen is just bring it to your tier 2 and walk back to it. That's not that big of a deal if you have to do that. But I just wasn't thinking. My brain was kind of shut off, and he gets another courier snipe, which is so lane losing because again, if I could show you, can I show you? Can I click on my courier's items? That's such a stupid thing that in the replays I can't check my courier's items. But if you could see, my courier has my sentries, my mana regen. It has everything that I need on it to succeed in this lane. But I just can't get it because this shaman is playing like a god. So, and because I'm playing like a dunce. So, really unfortunate. I mean, good that we got the kill, good that Terrorblade got the experience and the assist gold, like, good that we're making something of this lane, but it's not enough, you know. It's like, we need to be pulling, we need to be consistently applying pressure in this lane, we're just not. So here, the 5-minute mark is rolling around, which means bounty runes are going to spawn, and I'm like, well, fuck this, dude. If Shaman has a point in Shackle or Hex, like, I'm not really going to meaningfully contest that bounty rune, so I just go up for theirs, and then we just trade bounty runes here 1 for 1. I think this is totally fine. I think this is like, the best play that I could have made right here was just contesting their bounty runes, trying to bring the shaman out of lane so that it's at least a 1v1 TB versus Centaur, because TB's never going to die to Centaur solo, assuming he's playing correctly. Shadow Shaman in the lane, however, does create a kill condition against the Terrorblade. So applying that pressure, going for those bounty runes is one way that I can have impact here. And again, like, I still don't have my items. Like the courier, I'm level 3, not level 4 yet, so the courier's still on the ground. And it just respawned for me, so I think I have it on the way, don't I? No, I don't even have my courier. No, I do have it on the way. No, yeah, I do have it on the way, but I think he snipes this again. I can't remember. I really hope he doesn't. I actually don't think he does, because I feel like if he sniped this, yeah. I think if he sniped the courier here, my game would actually just be over. Because then at that point, I'd have to like walk back to this. So yeah, here I finally make a half-decent, half-intelligent play for the first time in this game. In terms of in respect to my courier, and I just walk to it, and then there I see the culprit. The ward expires, and I'm like, this motherfucker. He not only like my suspicions were confirmed. He not only did block the camp, but he had pretty good vision behind our tower to see where my courier was coming in. So yeah. Itemization, I got Windlace with my first courier flyout. The reason I got Windlace is just to try to outmaneuver the Shaman. Shaman's a slow hero, but if he gets into range, he can kill you, or at least he can create easy conditions for kills. So Windlace is a nice sort of countermeasure to that. And then I didn't get any of these other items, but I was supposed to get in my lane, like this stick as soon as possible, a little bit of extra regen, and then a sentry was for dewarding this area. But again, that was too little too late, Wired. Too little too late. Either way, I'm level 3, I have a lot of damage. Here they're kind of going on the Shaman, so here I'm just, or not going on the Shaman, Shaman was going on the TB. I think Centaur took a little second there to react to that. I wonder if they could have gotten a kill. I think they actually could have gotten a kill if Centaur would made it there and got a hoof stomp off, but alas, that was not the case. Your Q, I don't believe... I actually should look this up. If for no other reason, I should look it up for my own purposes. But I should just know this offhand. I don't think your Q... no, your Q does break channels. It does... I'm reading through the wiki here, sorry. When channeling is interrupted through disables, the projectile is released prematurely. Yeah. It doesn't say. Yeah, I'm 95% sure. I have like 100 Oracle games. They've changed its ability over time. It used to be like a soft root, and now it's like a root or like a hard root, which I believe does mean that it breaks all channeling abilities. Could be wrong about that. Somebody might want to correct me, but I'm like 99% sure that this does interrupt most, if not all, channeling abilities and teleportation scrolls from working. So it's a good thing to have against heroes like Shadow Shaman or Crystal Maiden for when they're channeling their ulti, or when Shadow Shaman's channeling his shackles. But yeah, right. I'm like, again, like I'm 99% sure that this does cancel shit, but it doesn't say that anywhere on the wiki. Well, either way. Well, it doesn't say that probably because it's a property of roots, and they're not going to explain roots on Oracle shit. But here, let's just control F roots here. I'm sorry. I almost feel like I need to confirm this for myself. Dota 2 root. It's okay, nothing interesting is happening in the game right now. I'm looking at it. Yeah, root cancels teleportation scrolls and prevents them from being used. Invisible units can also be revealed, and prevents them from moving or casting most movement-altering abilities. Rooted units still turn, attack, cast spells, and use items. Doesn't say anything about... Yeah, it doesn't say anything about canceling channeled abilities, but I think they do. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. I definitely know, especially since it says it right here, that they prevent TP scrolls, which is cool. I just assume if they prevent TP scrolls that they also prevent heroes from continuing their channeled spells, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Either way. Okay, so let me explain some things. I'm sorry. This replay analysis has been completely fucked. So, what do we do here? Here's what we do, okay? So I get the first pull off in the game. TB uses meta, and we don't get anything really from it outside of just a little bit. Like, he uses meta there, you know, we apply what pressure we can, and with this meta, like, when this meta ends, TB says, okay, fuck this, like, I'm just gonna go jungle, you know, like, you get your solo levels, I'll get some levels in the jungle. We're not really getting anything out of this lane as two heroes, so you just get your levels. Basically, TB makes the Chad decision. This is a very good decision TB makes to say, hey, I've got enough levels in Conjure Image to where I can go jungle, and you, as the Oracle player, don't really need, like, to, you know, it's difficult for you to, like, go top or go mid here because you don't want to just leave me against two heroes to go die. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the jungle where I'm a lot safer than I am in this lane, and I can actually get more farm, and leave you here bottom. Right, and leave Axe and Pudge to continue running at them and making space top. What this does is it gets me my levels, right? It creates a safe farm environment for TB. It creates a pretty safe farm environment for Oracle as well. Like, I will get some farm off this as I miss every creep under tower because my hero's base damage is shit. But either way, like, I will get some farm. I will get, mostly I'll get levels. It's the important thing that I'm getting out of this. If I can get some farm, that's good too. Farm's never hurt anybody. And again, what this really does is it alleviates pressure from Terrorblade. More specifically Terrorblade's lane. What this also does, incidentally, is it alleviates some pressure from their supports. Like, the Shadow Shaman, you know, wants to play here if Terrorblade's here, but if he's not here, that frees his hero up to go do other things. So there's several things Shadow Shaman could be doing right now. Firstly, he could be harassing Terrorblade in the jungle, right? Or he could be going top and making plays. And I think he made the latter decision. I think he was up there a part of the Axe kill, or the Pudge kill, I can't remember. I think it was Pudge, actually, that just died. No, it was Axe that just died, right? Wait, what? Was it Pudge? Yeah, it was Pudge that just died. And so that's something you have to take into account, is it's like, you know, when the carry goes to farm jungle, this lane is going to disperse in population number by approximately 2 heroes. Basically, the offlaner may stay here and continue to get lane farm, because lane farm is important and good. But certainly, like, they don't need 2 heroes here, and we don't need 2 heroes here, because we're sending one off. So that is something to keep in mind. So communicate that to your team. Here, we're pinging that their heroes are missing, so I'm playing scared here. There's no reason for me to walk up. Even though I have that ward there, there's no reason for me to walk up. I have no vision of their team. And sure enough, the Shaman is still here, right? He TP's top, but he's still here in the vicinity, and Centaur is level 6, so they have the tools necessary to kill me, and I'm identifying that and saying, hey, just because I can't see heroes on the map doesn't mean that heroes aren't on the map, right? That's basic object permanence. People learn that when they're 3 or 4 years old. Or maybe I think it's 2, actually. No, it's at a very young age. Here, Magnus gets like the God RP. They go on top when we had Magnus moving up there. I don't know what their decision was there, their play was, the thought process behind them. It ended up being pretty good for us. Like, Void Spirit came in for the cleanup, which was unfortunate, but I'd say that was still worth it. We killed their Sven, and Magnus lived, so Magnus is getting a lot of farm. Or rather, Magnus got a lot of levels off of that. And also just in raw numbers, like, we killed more heroes than them, but more importantly than just getting more kills than them, we killed their core, their position 1 Sven, so it was really good. Really brutal for them, I suppose you could say. Here I want to explain something. So while that was happening top, I'm sitting here bottom. Like I said, I'm still trying to get my levels, my EXP, all that good shit. And then Centaur shows in lane, and it's 10 minutes. And I say to myself, you know what? Fuck this, dude. I could sit here and get, like, you know, another solo wave of experience, maybe get like a last hit or 2. Centaur might deny my shit. But I think it's more important for my team that I dip out here and I go for the runes. You know, Void Spirit's not showing, but he was just top. So if nothing else, I think I can get this bottom rune. But you know, I can go like, by doing this play and playing in this, like, sort of aggressive manner, I'm forcing something out of them, right? I'm either forcing Centaur to pop ulti here, at which point he'll run up to me and just stun me, and then I'll probably die, right? But dying for applying this pressure for the rune, I think is worth it. Like, if I were to die here because Centaur ultied and Void Spirit rotated over, I think that's actually worth it, because then Centaur ulti's down for like 100 seconds or whatever the cooldown on this ability is. Yeah, 110 seconds. Like, that's a lot of pressure alleviated from my Terrorblade. You know, they can't smoke up and go run at my Terrorblade for 110 seconds because they don't have Centaur's ulti, or at least it's significantly more difficult for them to make that play. Centaur opts not to do that, and then Void Spirit opts not to rotate over, so I get both runes. It's important to note how much bounty runes are giving at this stage of the game, so they're giving 60 each, right? 60 multiplied by 5 and it's reliable gold too, so you don't lose it when you die, and it's very likely that you will die when you make a play like that. But either way, like, I didn't die, so 60 times 5, you know, that's 300. 300 gold for getting a bounty rune. If I were to die here because Void Spirit rotated over, and he should have, I'm pretty sure Void Spirit should have rotated over there, but he chose not to. If I were to die there, I'd still think that's worth it, because the net worth that I'm transferring, like, first of all, I'm not losing the net worth from getting the bounty rune, so, like, I'm still getting 60 gold, but then also I'm getting 60 gold for my team, right? Like, I'm getting it for, I'm transferring 60 gold to my Magnus and to my Terrorblade, that otherwise they would not have gotten if I stayed bottom and just stayed safe, right? And even though I would have died and fed a kill to Void Spirit and some experience, you know, 100 experience isn't nothing to scoff at, I still think it's worth it. Instead, I got 2 bounty runes and I lived, so because they just fucked up because Void Spirit was too lazy to rotate over. Right, he was for sure lazy. Like, I know, yeah, he had it. I'm pretty sure he had this Astral Step charge. Like, he could have just ultied over the wall and made it so Centaur catches up, and maybe they wouldn't even have to commit Centaur ulti. I probably still would have gotten the rune, unless he started moving over immediately. But again, like, my main play there was just to try to create space for my team, and I successfully. Not only did I do that, right, by forcing the Centaur to walk at me, but I didn't even die doing it. So, totally worth it, I would say. And here I'm just playing bottom still. This action that's happening is a little bit far away from anywhere that I could TP into. But then as the fight develops, you'll see I'm looking over. Whoops. Let me show this again. Alright, so we returned bottom. Like, I returned bottom after I get those bounty runes. I'm still doing this same game plan, right? Like, I could be, you might be saying to yourself, Wired, you're a support. You don't need farm. Why aren't you running as 4 heroes with your team? The simple answer to that is, like, if I don't have to, I don't want to. There's a free lane worth of farm and experience to be gathered here. Like, this is so many resources to just let go to waste completely. And whereas it is true that Terrorblade could rotate over, and he probably, like he is going to when I eventually make this TP rotation. Like, I don't just want to rotate to sit in a lane for no reason. That's a waste of my time, right? If I'm going to rotate, I want it to be because we're actively making a play happen on the map. So in this case, my team is actively making a play happen on the map, right? Axe and Pudge are running at them in their side jungle. It's a little bit hard to justify a TP mid here, but as I get that tower catapult last hit, I look over here and I'm like, okay, I think I can do something here, right? I look at this and I see a half HP axe. They don't have Lion, like Lion's dead. So they don't have nearly as much burst damage. Lion doesn't even have his ulti, but like even if this Lion was level 6, right? And just goes to show, me getting to leech this lane for as long as I have has put me 2 levels ahead of their support, right? So just keep that in mind. My decision making has gotten me quite a lot of levels, which is very important on support. But either way, right? Lion being dead here in this equation means they don't have any burst damage for this axe. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I just TP right now, there's a pretty good chance I can make it there in time for me to be able to make an impactful play here. And so sure enough, I come over here. I'm in the fight now. I'm like, you know what? Just fuck it, dude. I'm going to cast spells on Void Spirit. Your burst damage is really high in Oracle. If you didn't know, what I did was I came in here, and I was thinking about ulting the Magnus there, but I was like, fuck it, dude. He doesn't need my ulti. And there's a replay bug. I didn't push my W on him yet. So here what I do is I E the Shadow Shaman. Look at that damage. Look at that damage that just got dealt. That's all my E, right? Does 400 damage, basically. 360 actually. Just 360 damage, of course, a little bit less because of magic resistance. Then you throw your Q out, and that's a dead hero. I turn my attention over here to the Void Spirit. I do my W on Magnus. I meant to heal him immediately. I still got the heal off before my W got purged, but I didn't want to throw my ulti on cooldown there, so I just healed the Magnus up, and then I keep running with my axe here. And I think this is a bit of a mistake, but we do make a lot of space in this play. So axe is in here. I just come over here. The only thing I'm interested in doing here is just popping my ulti on this axe. So I pop my ulti, and Axe is like playing hard here. I don't exactly know why. I think he thought like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna die anyways. But either way, like they just suddenly back off. I'm not entirely sure why they back off. I guess they thought, you know, Magnus is missing. Maybe he's coming in with an RP. But either way, I just saved my Axe there for free. I think the enemy should have kept committing to the Axe because they didn't know this probably, but we didn't have our Magnus with us. Now we do have our Magnus with us, and they're going on the Axe again. I don't have my ulti, but Axe lands a call, and this is enough for us to just be like, you know what, we're just going to kill somebody. He didn't cancel his RP, so he accidentally ended up using it. He was talking in voice chat, and he was like, I meant to cancel it. Like, I meant to, you know, he was casting it preemptively because the stun was wearing off on the Void Spirit, but we ended up killing him in time. He was trying to cancel it, but he didn't get the cancel off. So unfortunate waste on the RP there, but we still kill Void Spirit. Very much worth it. And then we get to pick up a kill on the Lion. And so my Magnus is getting super fed here, and that's really good for us. And so, you know, again, that criticism that you might have wanted to levy at me earlier, like why aren't you running around with your team? Well, I'm doing that now because now we can play super aggressively, right? And I'll explain this Quelling Blade in a second, but now we can play super aggressively. Earlier, it's much more difficult for us to play super aggressively if I don't have levels. And furthermore, if nothing is happening around the map, why would I even want to go to my team, right? Like if they're not actively trying to like pursue a play, I would rather just sit in a lane anyways. Like it was when that kill condition arose, so to speak, like once the condition for a kill became apparent to me was when I made the conscientious decision to grow group with my team. And you know, you see what happened, what came from it, so to speak. So here Magnus TPing bottom, I walk over to him and Arcane's in before he didn't TP bottom, sorry, he TP'd mid, walk over, Arcane's in before he completes his TP, just a little efficiency thing. And I got this Quelling Blade, and so let me explain this, okay? Full credit goes where credit's deserved, okay? Watch the Jenkins video. Jenkins is smoking some serious crack right now, dude. Like, he's hitting that real good fucking, I don't know, like, he's on some drugs or some shit. But he made a video recently where he talked about how pro support players, high-level pro support players, of course they'd be high level if they're pros, but either way, I'm sorry for the redundancy. High level players that play support are now going Quelling Blade to utilize creative ward spots, or to utilize like very aggressive ward spots. And I just wanted to give that a shot this game. So here, I walk over here and I sentry this high ground and I'm getting ready to make my play, but Shadow Shaman shows up, right? Shadow Shaman, I don't know if you realize this, but like, this is just a sentry. I didn't place a ward here, right? And it still gives me high ground vision. So I saw that they placed an actual like vision ward here in a sentry, right? When I play support, when I see where the enemy wards, that becomes like an immediate goal for me, right? I play support like I'm running down a checklist, right? Especially in the early game, you play you basically play the game like a machine. It's like you're playing to the clock. You're saying like, okay, 2-minute runes, right? Or sorry, not 2-minute runes, 4-minute rune spawn, right? Every 1 minute there's a camp pulling, or there's a camp spawning. Every 1 minute, 16 seconds or 46 seconds, I can make a pull happen, right? Every 53 seconds, I said this earlier, but every 53 seconds I could make a pull happen for the 1 minute camp spawns. Every 4 minutes a rune's going to spawn. Every 5 minutes there's going to be bounty rune spawning. Like, you just play to the clock, and you have the clock sort of dictate the pace of your game. I didn't exemplify that to the epitome. Like, I didn't exemplify the epitome of that style of play in the early game this game. Partially because I'm rusty on support, partially just because I was getting fucking outplayed and I wasn't thinking about it. But here is where I think my style of support really shines. So they ward that high ground vision area, or that high ground area. But I know that, like, I can't meaningfully go and contest that, partially because I don't have a sentry and I'm flying that out right now, but also partially just because they're playing on that side of the map, and I don't want to walk up there when all of their enemy heroes are alive rather, and deward that. So I'm kind of trying to orchestrate a play around, I'm not trying to orchestrate a play. What I'm trying to do is just play mid and wait for them to disperse, because otherwise they just basically have to commit 4 heroes to farming this area of the map constantly to protect this ward, right? I have a smoke. I think this is a very aggressive play on my part. We don't see anybody on the map except for the Centaur showing mid and the Void Spirit bottom, and I just decide to walk over here. Like, I very well could have died, and I think I should have. But me not dying, basically them not protecting this ward here, is pretty bad by them. I don't know why they dispersed. These are pub plays right here. Should have gotten punished, but either way, I take care of that ward, and then what I do afterwards is you're gonna see this Quelling Blade shine. I cut these trees earlier, and as it turns out, I'll show this. If they ward this high ground area, they can't see this ward spot. I think I should have placed it a little bit further over here, just in case they ward like at the very edge. But you can actually see this ward spot if you deward this high ground area, and this ward spot's actually amazing if you cut these trees down. So, and look, this is funny. They have 2 sentries. They have a sentry here. No, sorry, these are our sentries. But this is like a common sentry area, right? And it still doesn't see this ward. This ward is really cheeky. And I'll explain this fight in a second. All I'm really trying to get at here is, this is why Quelling Blade on supports can be powerful. Now you might counter-argument me with, Wired, just let your carry cut the trees. But the problem with that is that your carry's not always going to be playing with you. And oftentimes as a support, they're not going to be at all, right? And sometimes your offlaner's not going to buy a Quelling Blade. Oftentimes it's too inconvenient for them to just walk over and follow you around and just basically be a dedicated tree cutter. I have thought about playing supports with natural tree cutting abilities before in the past when Quelling Blade used to cost like 200 gold and do this. But instead, fuck it, dude. Like, Quelling Blade's 130 gold now, super cheap. And for the utility that it allows you as a support who can't naturally cut trees to just cut trees and place wards in very unique, creative, and most importantly, high vision granting but low chances of being dewarded areas, it's very powerful, right? Now there's some mind games to this, of course. Like, if they see me cutting the trees, they can know to themselves, like, hey, this area is cut by trees. Like, maybe they're warding here, but I don't think they really caught on to that notion. So yeah, so I'm trying this out. I'm not super well read on the hottest spots, but I just thought to myself, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna try it this game. I'm gonna try cutting some trees down and just placing wards there. And I think it worked to a good amount of success, because this is a really good area to give vision, right? Like, we see them if they're farming this camp, if they're farming this camp, and we see a good entrance, we rather get a good peek or glance at Dire's, like a rather open area of vision into Dire's jungle. So I think it's a good area to ward if you can get it off. Anyways, back to the action. I'm TPing bottom here. They're going on a spot. I'm gonna actually show my vision so you guys see how I kind of played this moment. I'm playing top here, but holding a TP. This gives me the ability to play behind one of my cores, playing in an aggressive position, right? So I can save my core if he gets gone on. And then I'm holding a TP for a tower, so that in case my tower gets dove, like another core gets dove under a tower, I can play aggressively. I can rather play defensively and save them. Here I'm TPing in. Axe is just barely living. Like, there's no reason this guy should have gotten out there. Like, they didn't need jack shit, but like a few right clicks off. And if they were committing heroes on this area, I think they were just playing, they were playing a little bit too aggressively, or maybe they just weren't conscientious of where their heroes, like maybe these guys screwed up and they were farming too much, or maybe these guys screwed up and were playing too aggressively. I don't know what the communication looked like from the enemy team, but they just needed one extra hero there to finish Axe off, and this would have been pretty good. Either way, I TP in and I'm just like, fuck it, like I'm just throwing my ulti on just in case. I think it's a mistake for me to throw my ult on, but what this does do is when I ulti the Axe here, it doubles the healing, so if I just throw one E on top of him, like he's healed up to half HP. think my ulti was a mistake there, all things considered, though. Usually you don't just use your ulti randomly to heal people up. But, you know, Axe tips me out of it. I guess I'm battle pass levels. And what's most important about all of this isn't my incorrect usage of my ulti here. What's most important is the fact that I'm here, right? I'm here, I'm able to cast spells and provide things to my team. Like, I'm here, I'm able to do useful things, right? I'm able to cast my Q on that Shadow Shaman and get a 2-man root that combos with the RP there. I'm able to cast my E on heroes and get them low. Because this ability does crazy magic damage. I'm here to heal up my axe, you know, like I'm able to do things basically. And this is kind of a thing that I've talked about in my other videos, but like this all stems from me not randomly TPing out to lanes to get farm, right? Especially on support. I've said this before, but especially on support, but even on cores, when the mid game approaches, try not to waste your TP, because if you're TPing top, like let's say 30 seconds prior to this play, I had used my TP to go mid, right? Because I was sitting behind this guy. Let's say I was getting bored. I was like, oh man, I'm just standing around doing nothing. People aren't supposed to stand around and do nothing in Dota. You're supposed to constantly be doing something. So let's say instead of like sitting here, I TP'd mid and I went and farmed and showed mid and farmed that wave. Well, suddenly my team doesn't have me bottom. And then I can't be a variable or a factor in this ensuing fight. I'm just hoping that my team is able to execute their heroes perfectly, right? And chances are they're not going to, because they're missing your hero. And your hero, you know, you're an Oracle. Any hero you play, Dota's done. Valve, you know, criticize him. Ice Frog, criticize him for his faults. He's done at least a good enough job balancing the game such that every hero feels like they can at least do something across their 4, 5, or 6 buttons, respectively. Like, there's a pretty good chance that if you show up in a fight and you're level 6, your hero, no matter what hero you're playing, can do something, can contribute something to that fight. And so, you know, Oracle's no exception. If I hold a TP and I save it for when a tower's getting dove, there is something I can do when I TP into that tower location when my heroes are getting dove and my TP actually completes, which is to say, when my hero actually shows up, I can do something. And that's what, you know, the power of holding a TP means, that you always have some global map pressure. Here, I get gone on, I'm just derping around, I don't know what I mean, I do know what I'm doing. What I was thinking about was we want to fight, I want to get some wards down in their jungle. I maybe should have smoked for this, I don't know, smokes are valuable, but one thing is for sure, if I wasn't going to smoke, I have no reason to just be dicking around here in their jungle randomly. They come over, Sven Qs me, it's a low level Q. I think it's level 1, yeah, it's literally level 1. This guy was going Midas, this guy was going the farm route. So level 1 Q, so it doesn't do that much damage. Lion fingers me here. Man, imagine if this Sven had 1 extra point in his Q, I think I die here. But either way, they're getting gone on. I just barely live. This is a real sad story for the enemy team that I live here, but it doesn't even matter. Like, even if I didn't live, this would still be worth it, because Sven's super low. He's got to go back to base. His ulti's duration's being wasted right now. You know, and I don't think we actually took this mid tower. This is actually questionable. Now it's getting good though. We're diving this tower. They had heroes dying and they were just respawning and shit like that. Like, I don't know why they chose to fight there. Their decision to go on me. This was a good play if they could snipe me. Like, if Sven, you know, had higher points in his Q and Lion just immediately ulted me, I could have died here and they could have backed up. Instead, they kind of overstayed. And so all of a sudden it's looking really bad, right? Like, Lion dies, Sven's getting really low. We can't quite finish him off here, but we're going to finish him off eventually. I'm healing myself. Here we make a dive on their tower, so the Centaur just died, and now he's just respawning, but we're going to dive this tower. All of our heroes have high HP. And then Sven gets taunted. And then Shadow Shaman dies, and they're just kind of chain feeding here, right? So like I said, I think I actually did make a mistake just dicking around in their jungle. Let me see if they have vision. They do have vision up here. They have a sentry here. I don't know how they saw me. Maybe it was just like they walked over, and maybe they had a ward and it just expired. I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. Let me see how they saw me. Oh no, I was just walking under. So yeah, I was walking over here trying to fixate like my ward spot. But this was a poor play by me, but I didn't get punished immediately, which means I'm not going to get punished at all, baby, because my team's going to come and back me up. And we got some play. So again, I want to stress, this was probably a mistake on my end. I should have smoked if I was going to do something like that, because they have a lot of burst damage, and we didn't see any heroes on the map. I was playing somewhat close to my team, but I wasn't playing close enough to my team to where, like, it could have been considered a bait. Like, if that Lion and that Sven came on me and immediately popped me, I said this like 3 times now, but I'll say it again. Like, if they had immediately popped me and gotten out, I would have just died for free, and that would have been a loss of tempo for my team, because then I wouldn't have been with my team, or been able to have been with my team to play aggressively like we are right here, right? We're kind of manning up on their triangle, holding this position. I'm looking for valuable ward spots. We're dewarding that area, because I was pretty sure that they had vision of that area because they had gone on me. I'm pinging that ward spot because it's giving us vision of them, and they have this area warded. I want to show this. This is the power, the strength of that Quelling Blade purchase. They have this area warded. They are de-warding it, right? But they're not seeing my ward. So like we still have vision of this area, right? And they have a sentry right here. They're thinking like, hey, we know they don't have this area warded. We should man up on this. It's like, no, motherfuckers, you don't know that we don't know. You don't know that you don't know whether or not we know whether or not you guys are here. Because we do know that you guys are here because of this ward spot. It's like, surprise, motherfucker. I have played you in 5-dimensional chess and won. Like, we in fact did have vision. Pudge did in fact get to land the perfect hook, right? Pudge is going to make it out with a sliver of HP, which is kind of the story of this game. I'm going to make it out with a sliver of HP. I'm coming over here. I've got high burst damage. My name's fucking Oracle, dude. I have 500 burst damage on pretty low cooldowns. I keep pinging that ward spot because I'm like, look guys, the ward spot worked. And then I get to de-ward them for free, and it's just like, damn. G fucking G. And yeah, I just think this Quelling Blade purchase is really cheeky and cute. I don't want to say it won us this game or jump to any crazy conclusions, but it certainly made that play a lot easier to make. It made that play, right? Like if we didn't have vision of that area, and I'm even going to say it in all chat. Shaman line, my wards are outplaying you, admit it. Throw a little banter out. Okay, I'm PMA. I've got 10k behavior score, but 10k behavior score. But I do like to throw a little banter out every here and there. I'm still trying to like conceptualize where the best areas to cut trees are in this in the enemy triangle to place wards are. I think it's quite easy in both Radiant and Dire Jungle to determine where you should be placing wards. I think like cutting these trees down and placing a ward right here can be good because it dodges this sentry. It dodges this sentry. They'd have to place a sentry like right here or like right here to catch the ward here, and this ward is pretty good because it gives you vision of this area. If you even cut some trees here, you can see this farm spot. You can overlook this camp, which is usually it's really hard to get vision of this camp because you have to like ward right here, and they can place a sentry like right over here because you know usually teams if they ward somewhere behind the tower, it'll be like right here or right here, and a sentry right here catches both of those areas. But if you place a ward right here, it's like you can see, or right here rather, if you cut these two trees, you can see this camp, so you get valuable vision of this camp if they're farming this camp, and they can't de-ward it with just like a sentry right here or a sentry like right here. So like I said, it's pretty easy to find out where you know, with a Quelling Blade you should cut trees to get some good vision for the Radiant and Dire Jungle, but for the triangle it's a little bit more difficult, I think, because there's so many trees. Like maybe I cut these trees and place a ward like right here, so then I can get vision of this camp and then overlook their like tier 2 entrance into their triangle. I'm not entirely sure, but you know, it's a learning process. This is the first game I ever tried it, so either way, I'm cutting some trees because I got a Quelling Blade, man. I just want to be cutting some trees. This guy blink RPs and they're all spread out, so he hits one target. This is just a really bad engagement. I'm telling him that. I'm like, I don't know about this. This is looking really bad, but I still come over here and land the ulti on the Magnus, and I'm thinking to myself like, am I going to heal him or am I going to heal the Magnus or am I going to kill the Magnus? In situations like this where there's 3 heroes beating on like a no HP, like a 56 HP Magnus that you false promised, it's usually better to just ignore the fact that you landed your ulti on the start. Like my ulti here was purely to delay the Magnus's death, so they had to focus more attention on him, right? And so that he can get more shit out before he dies, right? And in this case, in this event, I guess you could say it gets me the kill on this Centaur, right? Like I ulti him, and then Shaman has to commit, or rather, sorry, Void Spirit has to commit his Yules, and he's sitting there right-clicking him to guarantee the kill. All that time, he's ignoring me, which he could be hitting if the Centaur, if the Magnus was dead, and he wasn't, simply put. So I get to kill the Centaur because Shaman had ran out of crowd control, or he just didn't shackle me. I don't know. Either way, I'm running away here. This is kind of crazy. I don't know why it takes them so long to kill me. I kind of know. This guy doesn't have any Astral Steps. He doesn't have his Q. Like, and this guy's not in range. Ults me, and then I give myself a magic resistance reduction with my W and heal myself. And it looks like I'm tanky, but it's really just like I'm healing through it. And my team even commented, they pinged, and he's like, dude, why is this Oracle so tanky? And I'm like, dude, I'm not tanky, man. I just have my heals. Gotta love Oracle. But it's fine. I mean, that play, like I said, I don't think that play was good at all. I think Magnus's decision to jump in on those heroes when they were spread out and so close to their tier 3 was poor. But we can at least say this. Space, right? Space for TB. So TB's been farming this entire time. He took top tier 2, and he basically took their entire jungle side, and then is able to just take over our triangle. Now, like, this is a really smooth and clean farm rotation from him to take their resources, go back to his triangle, and then he can retreat into our jungle and just get a really nice item timing on this on this butterfly that he's rushing after drones. Not even entirely sure if I agree with this guided side of decisions. I think casual Yash has fallen out of favor quite a while ago, but it's totally fine, right? Like, think about it this way. If he gets butterfly plus his evasion talent, he didn't get his evasion talent this game, but either way, like, if he just gets a butterfly, and I'm not saying I agree with butterfly, right? Butterfly's terrible this game. It's absolutely terrible. Like, I don't play position 1, but I still have like 200 games on Terrorblade. I have enough games on Terrorblade to know that this hero needs health in a game like this, or BKB, right? Look at all the burst damage they have. Sven does a lot of burst damage, but he's kind of, you could argue that like, oh, well, don't worry, the butterfly's going to help him against Sven. But either way, they have Lion, they have Shadow Shaman, they have Void Spirit, has a lot of magic damage that he supplies. They have Centaur, has a lot of magic damage and stunts that he supplies. Like, this butterfly is terrible. I don't know why he's rushing it. It's going to give him a lot of damage, sure, but it's going to make him, it's going to keep him at, like, he's still going to be a 1200 HP hero at 20 minutes into the game. Butterfly's not going to help him at all in that regard. So I definitely disagree with this guy's item decisions. But it doesn't really matter because we've just made so much space, and we've proven time and time again that our team is able to fight without Terrorblade, that this guy could honestly just farm his butterfly and then wait another, I don't know, 10 minutes, and we'd still be fine as a team, right? So it honestly doesn't even really matter. As long as he's hitting creeps, that's all I care about. It doesn't matter what order he gets his items in, because as long as he's getting items, we're fine, so to speak. Of course, I'm not being serious. Like, if the enemy had played a little bit better this game, they could have exploited the fact that we have a 1200 HP Terrorblade at 20 minutes in the game. But they made enough mistakes that his item decisions didn't matter. Not trying to flame him too hard, by the way. Like, this Terrorblade was a very nice player, and he wasn't bad per se. Like, when it came to the mechanics of Terrorblade, he's a solid player. I just think that his item decisions this game are terrible. But it does allow him to take Roche quicker, so I'll give him that. Either way. What am I doing here? So we got that kill on the Centaur. Your Q does purge. I think Centaur's slow, or speed boost rather, his ulti. And by the way, again, like the cheeky play, after I get the Centaur, I'm going to look for ward spots. So I cut these trees down, place a ward there. Again, gives us that vision. And then I go back mid. I don't know why the enemy is like playing so clustered up there. The second I walked this route into mid lane, I was thinking to myself, dude, if there were heroes like farming this area or looking to make a play on us with Axted, sorry, if there were heroes in position, I could have died there. I digress, however, because I lived. And so now I'm just sitting here pushing out the laner, sitting mid rather. Those are not my items. These are my items. Then Shadow Shaman shows up and then Lion shows up, and I'm like, whoa, hold up. Gotta be careful here. This guy's invisible though, and he goes in. I was trying to go around, but he just wanted to go immediately, and I was like, okay, I'm not sure I agree with this. I get blink stunned. This guy's way too tanky to go on, and, you know, they don't have enough burst damage with Centaur alone to kill me, so we're taking this fight. I disagree heavily with this fight, by the way, right? We have not popped anybody. Nobody has died. The only advantage that we have going for us is the Centaur doesn't have ulti. But I heavily disagree with this fight right here. Like, our axe is coming, but our TB's like out over here. I ulti this guy, he's not able to get his RP off, and like, notice, right? Things are happening. This is a pro tip to you guys. If you guys are fighting a team fight, and it's going on 10, 20, 30 seconds, and nobody's dying at all, but you guys are pushing big buttons, like you guys are pushing RP. In this case, we pushed it, but it got canceled. But like, we're pushing RP, we're pushing False Promise, like we're using high cooldown spells, but we're not getting anything off of it. It's a pretty good chance that the fight's not going in your favor, even if nobody on your team is dying. Pretty good chance, that's all I'm gonna say. So he lands his RP, does thankfully catch the Void Spirit, but he dies, because False Promise couldn't save him there. And look, we're just not able to kill anybody here, because their entire team is grouped and we took a very disadvantageous fight. The hero that we went on wasn't necessarily bad. Like, going on that Lion and Shadow Shaman, in my opinion, would have been fine if he RP'd here. I'll go back like 50 seconds. I think if this Magnus, when he skewered in, if he just instantly RP'd, I don't know if he could have gotten it off though. I think Shaman was like ready on the Hex. If he skewers this and then RP's immediately, but yeah, he couldn't because the Hex was prepared there. I can't even blame him. I can't even blame him for this play. That's something that, like, well, I kind of can. Just don't make the play, I guess, is the advice that you can give to this guy. Is like, if you know that they can cancel it because they have 2 instant cast point abilities in Hex and Hex, both these heroes have a Hex, right? Instant cast point, instant disable, pretty long duration disables. These, I mean, it's Lion and Shadow Shaman. These are like the support duo classic, right? These heroes are notorious for having very high duration crowd control abilities. right? And if they can do it and they can cast these abilities instantly, just don't go on them unless you're planning on like opening up with RP or something, you know, out of invis. But in this case, he can't kill the supports, and he jumps on the centaur, and it's like, why would you jump on centaur, dude? Like, this guy's tanky as shit. You gotta kill a support. These heroes are the heroes we gotta kill. Lion and Shadow Shaman are the ones enabling them to fight. That's where all their crowd control is. I'm getting gone on, like, again, nobody's dying. This is why this fight went bad, is because this Lion was able to land like Lion was able to land like 2 hexes. Shadow Shaman was able to land like 2 hexes throughout the duration of this fight, and 1 full duration shackle. Like, all this crowd control, they're able to just slap on us. We're going on the wrong target. We keep going on centaur. They're getting kited out. But it's still fine, right? Like, I mean, it's not, of course, we lost the shit out of that fight, but it's okay, because TB's alive, right? TB's hitting creeps. Although in that case, he was joining the fight. I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat, okay? That was terrible. We shouldn't have fought that fight. I knew we shouldn't have fought that fight. I did tell the Magnus, I was like, I don't think we should go in here. But we went in there. We tried his plan. Didn't work, but it's all good. Because outside of mid-tier 1, which is a very important tower to get, they can't get anything else. It still does suck, though. Like I said, it's a very important tower to get mid-tier 1, so it still does suck that we lost that tower, but... and I've talked about that in other videos, the importance of mid-tier 1 as a vector into the game. It just allows you to TP into basically the most crucial spot in the map, which is the middle of the map. You can get out of your base when you respawn in the mid-game. You can basically get out of your base and go anywhere you want if you have the mid-tier 1 up, so mid-tier 1 is very important. We don't have that anymore. Pudge is sitting here blinking up on high ground ward spots, just hooking this Sven and shit. This is such a wonky game as I look back. 30 minutes ago and think about it. Like, this guy played here for, I think, a solid 2 minutes. Just hooking creeps and shit. I don't know. Weird. Weird shit for sure. But again, TB's farming creeps, and I'm quelling blading down trees and getting ward spots. Or ward stone, rather. I think I die to this ward here. And I don't know. Oracle's kind of weird because you don't have a means of getting high ground vision. It kind of feels bad that you don't. Like, I don't have a way of getting this high ground vision. So I just gotta die here because, like, I don't get it. Like, my way of getting this high ground vision is flying my courier out, which is inconvenient. It's something I don't do enough on support, honestly. Right, but like, we have the sentry here. I just don't have this high ground vision, and it feels bad. So, Terrorblade uses his own sentry there, places it. Wait, what happened? No, that's their, sorry, that's their sentry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm drunk, fuck. I still should just know. I should just feel like when I'm walking under this, like, hey, this is a common ward spot if they're trying to play aggressive. I felt like they were on the back foot throughout the entirety of the game, but if you're on the back foot, that's all the more reason for you as the enemy team that's playing from behind to get aggressive wards up and try to make plays happen in the enemy's jungle. After they get done farming your jungle, they're going to go retreat to their jungle and go farm it up. And that's all the more reason why I should have just de-warded this area or just had a courier up there. In the game, I remember thinking, like, I honestly just did not expect them to have a ward there, but I should have, because that's how they get back into this game, is playing like this. And so I'll give the enemy team the applause here, like, or the hats off, so to speak. This was a good ward spot by them, and I honestly should have seen it coming. So I die there, but it's fine. I complete my Glimmer Cape. Glimmer Cape's a broken item this patch. It's just incredibly powerful because there's all these small dinky items that cores are getting nowadays. Like, this Terrorblade's carrying a drums, right? Magnus has got 2 bracers. Axe didn't really go for the dinky item core game that most cores are, like, he didn't go drums or 2 bracers or anything like that, but the principle still stands. Like, most cores these days, no matter what position you're playing, are going for, like, you know, Enigmas are going 2 Null Talismans instead of Soul Ring. Same thing with Darkseer, they're getting like 2 Null Talismans in a bottle. Mid laners are getting like a Wraith Band sometimes, even on Int Heroes. Or, you know, they'll still go like 2 Int items, like 2 Null Talismans or something like that. Like, heroes are getting small dinky items and their inventories are getting filled up in the mid game. What does that mean if their inventory is filled up? Well, that means they can't carry dust, they can't carry sentries. And so it's very powerful on supports to have items like Glimmer Cape. Well, actually, to have specifically Glimmer Cape. I guess you could also say Shadow Amulet, but yeah, like an item that gives you invisibility in this current patch is very powerful just for that reason alone, which is nobody except for the supports really carry detection anymore. As an offlaner, I've been like buying my own dust and selling my my stat boosting items prematurely to sort of counter that. I think that's underrated. Say for instance, I'm not saying TB should do this, but like say for instance this axe, instead of carrying around 3 mangoes, assuming the enemy has a glimmer cape, which I think they do. Does Shadow Shaman have a glimmer cape? They don't actually have a means of going invisible. Say they did have a means of going invisible, right? One thing this axe could do, because like he's axe, right? He's not the main source of damage on our team. He can relax a little bit on carrying like items that give him damage. One thing he could consider doing is trading out these mangoes, or honestly even this ogre club to carry dust around. If, say, for instance, the Lion or the Shadow Shaman had a glimmer cape, because it's just so much more important these days to be able to, like, you know, just see the heroes that you're trying to kill. Like, it's always been the case. I shouldn't say it's more important these days, because it's always been the case that if you can see heroes that go invisible, you can kill heroes that go invisible, and you can counter the 2K pub mentality of invisibility equals invincibility. Like, just seeing heroes that go invisible is incredibly important. Hopefully I don't have to tell you guys that, but rather I'm telling you this to re-cement that idea in your brain. Is like, if you're that 3 position, or even that, honestly, that mid laner, if you're that mid laner that refuses to sell your null talisman 15 to 20 minutes into the game because for whatever reason you think that 0.6 mana regen, some all stats, like basically 2 extra strength and 3% spell amp is more important than killing the enemy support when they go invisible, then you're bad. And I have no problem calling you bad in that case, right? This guy, this Void Spirit, does that very thing that I told you about this game, right? He identifies, hey, the enemy team literally has, well, I was going to say 1. I guess Pudge also has a Glimmer Cape. The enemy team has 2 Glimmer Capes, right? And nothing else, right? We don't have a Clinks, we don't have a Ricky, we don't have like a Shadowblade Magnus or anything. Like, we literally just have 2 Glimmer Capes. But I, as the Void Spirit, am still going to buy Dust. Why? Because if they go invisible, we can't kill them. And killing heroes is good. So like, I'm going to carry dust is what he says to himself. And you know, hats off to him. Like, this is correct. This is very good by the Void Spirit to do this. Carry dust. That's, wow, crazy. Wired's telling you to carry dust. Crazy. Right? So he goes dust, and he was, by the way, I want to mention that this kill that he got on me over here, I had my Glimmer Cape, right? The only reason that guy killed me, the Void Spirit killed me when I was under this ward, was because he saw me with dust. I didn't really show that play too hardcore. I think I showed at like 1.5 times speed, me dying over here. Like I might have had my camera positioning over. Like, I didn't really show that play in its entirety, but he killed me here because of this ward and because he's carrying dust. Here he goes on me because he identifies, hey, the Oracle has to die if we want to win a fight, right? And so he's carrying dust. Now he's a little bit unfortunate that he's the only backline diver and he doesn't have enough burst damage to kill me. And that's another thing about Glimmer Cape, is even if you have dust, it's still just an incredibly strong item because it gives you 15% magic resistance naturally, and then it also gives you an extra 45% magic resistance on top of that when you pop it on somebody, on yourself in this case, right? So like, suddenly when Glimmer Cape is active on my hero, I have, and he even has the Grove Bow, right? He even has a Grove Bow, so he's even decreasing my magic resistance. But when I finally use my, so I didn't use it for the longest time, but when I finally use it on myself, even with Grove Bow reducing my magic resistance, I still have 60% magic resistance. Like, I am tanky as shit to most of this guy's damage. And it keeps me alive here. So yeah, Glimmer Cape, strong item, right? Basically makes you immune to magic damage, basically. And also gives you invisibility, which at a lot of brackets of play is just straight up invincibility. But even at the highest bracket of play is like pseudo invincibility versus a lot of cores, because cores are just struggling to buy detection these days. I don't really think I explained my contribution to this fight. This has been a poor replay analysis. I can even admit it. This has been a poor replay analysis from the standpoint of like if you want to learn Oracle, I will teach you sort of thing. This has more been like a general like how to play support breakdown kind of. And also me kind of jacking off about about like buying Quelling Blade for 15 minutes. All right, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit scatterbrained. I haven't done one of these in like a week and a half. Okay, cut me some slack. But yeah, I want to explain this fight actually. So this isn't really a fight. Like, our Terrorblade has DD and Meta and Aegis. Like, this shouldn't be a fight, right? We should just be able to take a free Rax here. The enemy team is missing some key elements to them being able to engage us. First of all, they're missing Burst for Terrorblade's first Metamorphosis life, right? Lion doesn't have his ulti. And honestly, like, they're just kind of lacking damage, I guess, for lack of a better way of explaining it. Like, without Lion ulti, they have no way to really burst the Terrorblade. Especially when you take into consideration my ulti. So they engage here. Or I'll show this, sorry. They engage here. I think knowing that they can't burst him, they hex him. I do have to wonder if Sven had queued with his Aghanim Scepter. If Sven cues the Terrorblade and Centaur blink stomps this guy, I wonder if Terrorblade would have died, right? Of course, I have my ulti, so I can save him, but like, I wonder if they would have been able to get him low quickly enough to where I'd need to commit my ulti and then like, they could just disperse and go on us. I don't know how that would have worked out for them. Of course, again, like he does have Aegis, but he's a Metamorphosis Terrorblade. Like he has one life that is effective, right? And that's the life that he has Metamorphosis in. So Sven does go in, but like Centaur is going on their backline over here. And so now this is the classic story of Dota, where Dota team fights rather, where you're playing a pub, everybody's uncoordinated, and you guys are all going on like totally different targets. And so you're getting people low, like this Pudge is, you know, 1/3 HP, Magnus is half HP, so like this Centaur goes and blink stomps 2 heroes over here, but like our TB's going to, or is able to just rain havoc, and nobody's focusing him. Except Sven and I think Lion there was focusing Sven, but then the Lion died to TB illusion or TB main right clicks, I'm not sure. Like they threw CC on TB, and then in addition to doing that, like you either focus TB or you ignore him, right? And I don't really recommend the latter. So you either focus TB or you don't. And that's one of the reasons why this should have been a free Rax, is because they can't focus the TB in this situation. They don't have the means to. He has just too much net worth, he has Aegis, and he's meted, and like we have too much save for him. So they should have honestly, in my opinion, just given up this Rax, but they didn't. And then they proceeded to fight the worst possible fight they could, where they just like equally disperse their damage amongst 3 to 4 heroes, right? And Void Spirit dives on me and shit like that, and it just does not work out. Now Magnus does incredibly like overcommit. I don't know if he's getting pushed over here or what, but like Magnus somehow dies over here with RP still up, so that's some weird shit. But either way, we're gonna clean up here and take this Rax. Basically killed their 2 supports in the process, and this fight went swimmingly. Partially just because, again, like I was able to false promise the TB as he was getting low, and the reason I was able to do that was because they didn't go on me or they didn't go on TB. So, you know, TB gets low, and then I ult him, and it's like, what are they going to do about that, right? Especially when Centaur's blink stunning 2 heroes over here. It's like, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure exactly. This item, by the way, this Keen Optic is insane. I recommend if you get it as Oracle, like you just keep it. Pretty much until tier 4 items. Like, I mean, there's a couple of items you can replace it out with, at least at times. Like Philosopher's Stone can be a good item to hold around the mid game if you aren't fighting. Like if you're in between fights, you can hold a Philosopher's Stone. Arcane Ring is nice, but I just think Keen Optic is better. Like, sorry, especially leading up to your Aether Lens, cast range is really big on this hero, and it can change the course of a game. Like you being able to cast your abilities from 800 units away versus 1200 units away. Not 1200, but like, well, yeah, basically the difference between you being able to cast a 700 to 800 range False Promise, depending on the level, if you're level 6 or if you're level 12, versus a 1000 or 1075 100 range. Actually, it's 850 at level 2. But like taking an 850 cast range ability and ramping it up to 1125 with Aether Lens and not 1125. Holy shit, that's actually 1275. It's crazy. But yeah, like being able to do that, or no, that's 1325. That's crazy. It's insane. Plus your cast range ability, like your cast range talent, your cast range is so huge. Look at this. Look at my cast range. Right, I have Aether Lens, I have Keen Optic. And then I have, I don't even know if it's updating. Yeah, look at these cast ranges. I can cast my abilities from everywhere. This is just really poor positioning, right? I'm sitting here, as I'm flagellating about my hero's cast range, I'm just derping around, walking around. Right. So we jump on the Void Spirit, and then for whatever reason, this guy commits RP, which I disagree with. But it doesn't matter if he commits RP there. This play that I make is still bad. Even if this guy has RP up, it's still bad for me to sit here and just walk when a Sven has ulti and he's running at my Magnus. I don't know why I do this. I think I do this. I don't even know. I think it was literally this. I was sitting back playing the game and I was like on autopilot. I just wasn't thinking about the game. I get jumped on. Sven jumps on me. I die. I get mad. I buy back. We have this shrine, so I TP in. And like, man, the amount of impact that I would have if I was in this fight. I could have ulted this guy, he would have been totally fine, and we would have just cleaned house. Instead, my TB gets jumped on, but it's okay, I'm going to arrive. I come over, ult the TB, he gets his Sunder off. This is why Terrorblade Oracle is such a good combo, by the way. Bad lane combo, though, for sure. Pretty bad lane combo. You do nothing, well, you don't do nothing at level 1. it's not that bad in lane. You just have to play around it. And this game I did not, because I didn't deward this camp, and I didn't play correctly when Terrorblade had Metamorphosis up. It's honestly not that bad of a lane, but it's especially like really potent in the mid and late game, because you can ult the TB when he's getting bursted down, so you can basically guarantee he's always going to get Sunder off. And that's just a very powerful thing for Terrorblade to have on his team, which is, again, basically just a hero that enables him to get Sunder off. So, hopefully I explained this game well. I should have turned down the sound. I think I'll do that for the next replay. You might be thinking, Fire, why not just re-record this replay where you turn down the sound so you have more room to talk about it? It's because I'm lazy as shit. And I think I did a decent enough job explaining my thoughts. Also, I've been trying to record videos. Like 2 days ago, I played a game where I wanted to explain the tempo. I played an Abaddon game 2 days ago where I was trying to like record that game and show that to you guys. And I recorded it like 5, 6, 7 times differently because I just didn't like the way that my words were coming out when I was trying to explain the concept. So I'm kind of on that like mindset of just, you know, pump a video, just make a video, just release it, just, you know, just get a video out there, just get something out there that's even like remotely educational so I can sort of get back in the groove of things. Because at this point I almost feel like I have anxiety towards making these videos. But either way, there was that game. Hopefully I explained it somewhat decently. Like I said, key takeaways from that game were I stayed bottom to leech my levels when Terrorblade went to jungle. Terrorblade made the alpha decision to go jungle, and then I capitalized on his decision to do that by not going around and running around with my team, but instead prioritizing my own levels, at least my level 6, which would have enabled me to go and play with my team much more effectively. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, oh yeah, point number 2 should have been point number 1, but if we're going chronological order. But, you know, consider if you're a hero with a stun, and if you're a support hero, you're probably a hero with a stun, or a pretty powerful slow. Like, if you're playing a support hero and you don't have a stun, silence, or slow, or any meaningful contribution at the rune, you might not be playing a support hero. I don't know. I mean, there are some support heroes that don't have these things, but like, you know, if you're playing a hero like Oracle, who does have a root, and it's a pretty powerful one at that, at level 1, that you can channel, consider going top. And grouping with your offlaner and your 4 position to try to get first blood, especially if you have a bad rune combo like Terrorblade Oracle, right? Like Terrorblade doesn't want to commit Metamorphosis at level 1 at the rune. He wants to do that at the wave. So rather than try to even contest that rune, I'd rather TB go block or scout out the enemy and not like throw his life away for the rune, and instead have me go top and try to get first blood with my team, which we did. So that's point number 2 or point number 1, depending on chronological order. Point number 3 is play the lane better than I did, right? If the enemy blocks your camps with a ward, recognize that means they have a ward there, so they're going to, you know, see your courier when it's coming in. And if it's a hero like Shadow Shaman, which has a pretty high base damage but low movement speed, but still, like, if he has a hero like Shadow Shaman who can one-shot your courier, even with his low movement speed, as long as he has vision of it, he can just camp your courier when it's coming out and then get in the right position to snipe it. And that's what he did. And so, you know, play around that, ferry your courier to your tier 2, and then just walk back and get your items that way. Just play it safe. Better safe than sorry. So yeah, don't throw the lane like I did. I already explained that after the lane, you should stay in the like after the lane phase, when the carry goes to leave to the jungle, if they go to leave to the jungle, if they're a carry that can do that, then you still need to get your levels. Like, don't immediately abandon the lane and go TP around or anything like that. Like, stay in the lane. A lot of farm and levels exist in the lane. People underestimate like just how much farm and levels exist in lanes to the point where I even see this in higher brackets. Like, players will just let a lane go unfarmed in the early game for like 3 or 4 minutes while they go and make plays. Like, very, very rarely is that the correct play. Oftentimes it's better to just position 3 heroes and farm greedily. Like, I say greedily, but that's actually, you're totally safe to do that. Like, it's unsafe to farm 3 different lanes in the mid game, because then suddenly you're showing too many heroes on the map that are spaced out too far to where like the enemy can just go to one of those lanes and probably kill them, because, you know, any amount of assistance that you can provide from the other 4 heroes is going to come super late, because you have 2 other cores in 2 different lanes, and they're gonna have to TP, and even if they're not going to TP, like, they're gonna have to run there and shit like that. Like, it's very rare, very seldom that you'll have a game where it's correct to show 3 heroes on the map in the mid game. But in the early game, you should be doing that. You should be having 3 heroes situated in 3 different lanes pretty much all the time. I don't want to say all the time, because of course it is important to make rotations, but you do want to be getting that valuable lane experience, because because it is super valuable. It's the quickest way to get your levels. So that's what I did. Come around the mid game, you know, get creative with your play style. Don't just follow your team around mindlessly and you know, tell them to smoke and shit like that because you want the game to be over because you're support and you can't farm or something like that. Like, get creative. Like, you do still have objectives to complete as a support in the mid game. One of them is solo smoking and going and placing wards. That's not done often enough, I think. You know, smokes have a pretty low cooldown these days. It's like 300 minutes or sorry, 300 seconds or something. Like, that's not nothing, of course, but it's a far cry from what they used to be. I think they used to be like 420 seconds or something like that. They used to be on like a 6 or a 7 minute cooldown. Now they're on like a 5 minute cooldown. So feel free to buy a smoke, especially early to mid game. Like, the early mid game especially is a great time to do this, when you smoke after you TP in or walk, honestly, because you probably should be walking to a tower. Smoke at the tower, at the tier 1 tower, and then go into the enemy jungle and, you know, place some wards down in creative locations. Those will enable your team in the mid game to take favorable engagements on the enemy side of the map, which is where you want to be playing usually, in the enemy jungle, in the Dire jungle that game, or in the Radiant jungle if you're on the Dire. You want to be playing in that area, placing your wards down, in super aggressive locations that enable you to catch the enemy carry if they go to farm it. That's like point number 4, I think. And then I guess point number 5 is yeah, buy Glimmer Cape. You know, buy really good items. Of course, buy stick. But I think most people know to like buy stick or wand and whatnot. Very few games, especially on a hero like Oracle, who, you know, when you ulti somebody, and this includes yourself, all of your healing is doubled. So you want to buy a stick just in case you have to ulti yourself. You can pop stick on yourself, pop your E on yourself, and suddenly you've healed like, you know, upwards of 600 to 700 damage. Maybe even it's 800 damage, right? Because your E's healing is doubled, so it heals for 396. So 800 damage right then and there. And then if you have a 10 charge stick, that's like an extra 400 HP that you just healed over the course of the duration of your ulti. And you can get 2 heals off on yourself twice, or sorry, you can get 2 heals on yourself if you really need to. So definitely buy stick on this hero. Buy Arcanes, buy Aether Lens, buy Glimmer Cape. Really good items. Very few games where either of those items are going to be bad. Continue buying wards. That's another thing I've noticed is some players, like when they play support, they always are buying wards throughout like the early to early mid game, but then they like forget, I guess, that like once they get like 1 or 2 items and their slots start to get filled up, they just forget what their job is and they stop buying wards. It's like, no, you still want to be buying wards, you still want to be buying smokes, you still want to be carrying these items on you, even if you're completely slotted out. Like, trade out your shovel or whatever neutral items or dinky little items like salves and shit like that. Like, it's nice to be able to keep salves in your backpack if you do have a shovel or something like that, but what's more important in my opinion is just having a smoke on you so that you can use it on demand when your team wants to call for it. Sentries as well, that's another thing, is like you can almost never have too much detection these days. There has been some games where I've bought like, you know, 7 or 8 sentries and I've thought to myself, okay, wait, hold up. Like, I could have, you know, been 200, 300 gold closer to my Glimmer Cape, you know, or I'll buy that many sentries and then the time will roll around where I'm 300 gold away from an item and I don't get it in time for the next team fight. And I'm thinking to myself, well, fuck, like, obviously the correct play here was to not carry so many sentries around. But for the most part, it's way better to be safe than sorry on detection, especially sentries, since sentries double as a dewarding mechanism, so to speak. Like, carry 1 dust around, or maybe don't even carry any dust around for fights. Honestly, your team can carry the dust in most occasions, but sentries are something that you should not skimp out on, right? Carry 4 or 5 sentries around. I think that's usually pretty good. Like, it's not overkill at all for the mid game, because you want to have dewards for sentries. Or sorry, you want to have sentries for dewarding spots, and then of course you want to carry detection for fights if the enemy has Glimmer Capes themselves, which they're very likely to buy, or a naturally invisible hero. Or a hero that can artificially go invisible, right? Shadowblade is a reason to buy sentries too, so don't skip, especially Shadowblade, because that's usually an initiation item, not an item that people are running away with too often. But anyways, I think I covered the majority of the takeaways from that game in that little summary there. Hope that you guys learned something. Hope this video didn't travel on for too long. And yeah, more videos to come hopefully. I love you guys. Take care. GG's. Stay safe.